All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. Gonna do something new today. I just wanted to put some content up because I kind of want to start putting up content daily. And I figured now, 10 weeks into the season, or 9 weeks, I guess, going on 10 weeks, would be a pretty good time to go over each team's starting quarterback situation. All right, what we're going to do is we have a tier list here, and we're going to go ahead and rank how each team's quarterbacks have looked. I was going to do like a starter thing, but there are so many different teams that have had, 2 or 3 different quarterbacks up until now that we're just going to go on a team-by-team basis. Yeah. This is completely off the cuff. I literally thought of this 5 minutes ago, so I have no preparation or anything. None of these rankings are going to be statistically backed up, or there's going to be any proof, which is fine because that's been a common trend in our country lately is baseless accusations with no claims and no proof. So that's what we're going to do here as well when it comes to this quarterback ranking. If I'm sitting weird, it's because I threw my hip out today like a 65-year-old man putting on gym shorts. Me, a 25-year-old man, threw out my hip putting on gym shorts. That's how my life is. So I can't move. I'm completely immobile. So that's partially the reason why I decided to do this. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, all that good stuff. Let's get right into it. Again, I literally just started doing this, so there's no preparation or anything. So here you go. Here are my tiers. We're doing this little tier list. I cropped the screen a little bit because there's ads here on the side. And as you know, no free advertisements on the show at all. So you can't see it, but it's Best Buy. Best Buy, you'd have to pay me a pretty penny to get on this show. So at the top, we have MVP tier. Obviously, these are the guys who are in the MVP race. There's going to be maybe 2 or 3 guys in this tier. Next up, we have the Pro Bowl tier. I was thinking about doing an All-Pro tier, but I kind of figured if you're in All-Pro quarterback, you're in the MVP conversation, so I felt a little redundant. We have the good tier right here. There'll probably be 2 or 3 quarterbacks in this Pro Bowl tier. We have the average. This is going to be reserved for like above average, average, and below average, right? I didn't want to have too many different tier listings. Here we have one more year, right? One more year. This one, we'll see. I don't even know if anyone's going to end up here, but basically my idea was for younger quarterbacks who haven't looked that good, but it's a little too early to give up on them. You know what I mean? And then here we have need a new quarterback. Team needs to draft a new quarterback or go get a veteran quarterback, whatever the case may be moving forward. And starting off, we have the Tennessee Titans. Oh, okay. So we're starting off like this. If I were to do this a few weeks ago, I'd probably have Tannehill in the MVP tier. Does he still belong there? I think his performance has kind of dipped a little bit over the last few weeks. I really want to reserve that MVP tier for guys who are like playing out of their minds. So I'll go ahead and put Tannehill in this Pro Bowl tier. He's had an absolute amazing season. Obviously, the Titans look really good, and a lot of that has to do with how well Tannehill has played. He doesn't do too much, right? He does kind of drive the bus a little bit, but he is capable of making really big throws. I mean, we saw that throw on Sunday against the Bears to A.J. Brown was a beautiful throw, an absolutely majestic throw. Here we go. The Dolphins, okay. I'm going to put them in average. And hear me out. Obviously, moving forward, their quarterback situation looks great because Tua didn't do much against the Rams because he didn't have to 2 weeks ago, but his second start against the Cardinals, he did look really good. But all in all, I think when you combine his play so far with Fitzmagic's play, they're in the average tier. I know a lot of people thought Fitzmagic was having like an MVP caliber season because the Dolphins are doing good. The reality is the Dolphins are a really well-built team, and they're really well-coached. So I know like people thought that the Dolphins were going to be shit, so their really good record must be an indication that Fitzmagic was doing crazy stuff. That's really not the case. I mean, they're winning games by playing good defense, by just being a really well-coached and balanced team. So, I have them here. And that's, average isn't a bad thing, okay? Average isn't a bad thing. I'm really trying to reserve these tiers for like the people who have been really, really good. Browns, Baker, I'm going to put him in average as well. You could make the argument that Baker belongs here in the one more year tier. Kind of give him one more year to feel him out. Because, third year is pretty much the most telling year for starting quarterbacks. Typically, that's when you'll pretty much have to make your decision on what to do moving forward. The thing about Baker is it's just inconsistency, right? Like, what was that game against the Bengals where he threw 20 straight completions and like 5 touchdowns and brought the team back to a victory? See, those are the things we see from Baker, and we know that he's capable of doing things like that. But can he do it on a consistent level? That's the thing that needs to be answered moving forward. But the thing is it's like I want to reserve this one more year for people who are about to be out of jobs. I don't think that's Baker. I really don't, but it's close. I'll leave Baker in this average tier. Jags, they need a new QB. They need a new QB, full stop. Minshew Magic was a great story, but he's just not the face of the franchise. He's just not going to be the franchise guy moving forward. And obviously, Lutton is not that guy either, even though he looked okay. But yeah, they need a new quarterback. I think that most Jags fans would agree. Minshew is a good story and all, but it's just you need a guy who can carry your franchise. Minshew's not going to be that, but Minshew, I think Minshew's career, he's going to be a really good either a really good backup or like a Fitzmagic, like a stopgap guy who comes in, plays a few years for a team, the team gets a young quarterback, and that guy leaves. So the Jags are in need of a new quarterback. The Lions, let's put Lions in average. Stafford's been pretty bad as of late, admittedly. But, I mean, still, he's working with what he's got, and he's looked good at times this season. Their woes have a lot more to do with how bad their defense is, but their offense does deserve a good amount of the blame. They're just completely incapable of running the ball, which obviously limits a lot of the things they can do as an offense. Kenny G's been hurt. I think Marvin Jones has been hurt as well. Am I wrong in thinking that? So I'll put Stafford in average. I don't think that they're like in desperate need of a new quarterback, but it's kind of reaching that point where they should maybe start thinking about it. Vikings. I'll put Vikings in average too. I think Kirk is, again, I'm trying to reserve these spots for like guys who've been actually really good. I think that Kirk has been actually pretty solid this season. I know that people love shitting on Kirk Cousins. Me too. It's fun. It's hilarious. But he's been okay. He's been okay. Again, he's not asked to do much. Like their best chances of winning is Dalvin Cook getting 200 yards from scrimmage in a game. It's not on the back of Kirk Cousins. So while he did look really rough early on, he has looked a lot better over the past few weeks. So I'll put them in average. I mean, all in all, they probably are going to need a new quarterback soon. I mean, they will need a new quarterback soon. And if they had the opportunity, I bet they would want to get out of that Kirk Cousins contract because I believe he just signed, what is it, like a 3-year extension recently. So, yeah, Kirk is in the average tier. I'll put Brady in good. He's had really good moments, and he's had really bad moments. There's been several quarterbacks like that in the league this year where it's either like they look really good or they look like utter shit. But I'll put Brady in good. I think if it weren't for the disastrous performance we saw on Sunday night against the Saints, I'd probably put him in this Pro Bowl tier. But again, I'm trying to reserve these for specific guys. So while I do think Brady has looked really solid this year, I think that it's been a little too inconsistent for him to be in the Pro Bowl tier. Niners. Oh, God. I think the Niners need a new quarterback. I think the Niners are in need of a new quarterback. It's nothing against Jimmy G. It's nothing against Mullins. But I think moving forward, in order for them to get back to where they want to be, I think that they're going to need a new quarterback at some point. Of course, a lot of that has to do with the Jimmy G contract. But also, I mean, when you watch the games, man, it's pretty apparent that Jimmy can only do so much. He's not terrible. Like, he's not going to go out there and lose you games single-handedly. But when you need that big drive or when you need a big throw, is Jimmy the guy who's going to do that consistently? It's hard to say. So I'll put the 49ers as a whole in this need a new quarterback tier. I wonder if 49ers fans would agree with me in that assessment. That's interesting to see. What's my cat up to? Okay, here we go. The Falcons. Let me pull up my stats here. Just kidding. I'm looking at the chat here. I'll put them in. Part of me feels like Matt Ryan's been really solid this year. Let me put him right here at the very top of average. These aren't going to be ranked, by the way. Like inside the tiers, they're not going to be ranked. But let me just put him here right now. I might move him up to good. I do think Matt Ryan has been solid this year, especially as of late. As of late, I think Matt Ryan has been pretty solid. Again, he's kind of like Brady in a way where his bad games are really bad. But it's also because they ask him to do so much, But I'll put Matt Ryan there for now. Obviously, they're one of these teams too that yes, at some point in the very near future, they're going to have to think about who the next quarterback of the franchise is going to be. But for the time being, I'll put Matt Ryan here, and he's going to be close to good. We'll revisit this at the end. Lamar. This is where things get spicy. If we're being honest with ourselves, Lamar, I think, deserves to be in this average tier. If we're just being completely and totally honest, I'll put him here as well. I feel like if I put Matt Ryan here, I almost have to put Lamar here. We'll go back and look at this later. But it's just like, how much of it is Lamar's fault? How much of it is Greg Roman's fault? That's been a hot topic for debate throughout the entire season so far, especially among Ravens fans. As well as Lamar's struggles and regression on the offense and the offensive play calling, not playing to Lamar's strengths, or has Lamar actually regressed? I think it's maybe a little bit of column A and C. Hold on, I have to keep checking this shit because sometimes I play music on here and ads play. And again, no free ads on this channel. If you wanna talk, we can talk contracts. Yeah. I'll put Ravens and Lamar right here for the time being. I might boost them up here, But the reality is he has not been that good this year. He just hasn't, especially for somebody who just came off of winning an MVP. He looked bad, really bad against the Steelers. Like damn near single-handedly lost the game for him. And then first half against the Colts this past week, he looked terrible again, but he really picked it up in the second half. Let's just leave him an average for the time being. The Bears, obviously, they need a new quarterback. I mean, do we even need to spend time on this? They are in need of a new QB. And that's pretty much all there is to say about that. Nick Foles is too much of a statue. Their offensive play calling is not good at all. I mean, it's like, Nick Foles can't move in the pocket. Nick Foles has even openly said that, and yet you call all of these terrible fucking play calls that require him to stand, that require him to wait. Your offensive line's not good enough for these long routes to develop. Nick Foles can't escape the pocket. So, yeah. And obviously Mitch Trubisky's horrific. So they need a new quarterback in the worst of ways. But the thing is about the Bears is it seems like the Bears are like stuck in this rut, man, where they're never going to be bad enough to get a top pick, but they're not good enough to really do anything. So they're kind of, and when it comes to franchise quarterbacks, it's pretty rare that you find a guy late in the first round. You can, you definitely can. Teams have. Look at the Ravens. Lamar was the last pick of the first round. But you think about last year, all three of those guys, Burrow, Herbert, and Tua, top 6 picks. So the Bears are in need of a new quarterback. What they're going to do is going to be interesting. I mean, do they keep trying to go after these veteran guys? That's a possibility. Bengals. I'll put the Bengals in average. I know that might piss some people off, but I think if you're looking at quarterback play as a whole, Burrow has been solid average to like above average, which, to be completely fair, for a rookie quarterback, especially in a rookie quarterback in Burrow's situation, that's what you want to see, right? That's perfectly fine. You should be very, very happy if you are a sorry if I keep moving, dude. This is a tragic situation we're dealing with here. So that's what you want to see moving forward. So I'll put the Bengals here in average. I think that's fair. Again, I want to reserve these for the top tier guys. Cowboys. Oh, what do we do for the Cowboys? So again, I'm gauging entire team's quarterback situation. Because of that, I have to put the Cowboys at average, I think. But the only reason why is because they're obviously they've had 4 starting quarterbacks so far this season. 4 different starting quarterbacks. So if this were just Dak, he'd probably be in the Pro Bowl tier. Honestly, he was playing like a top 5 quarterback this year before the injury. But now that he is injured, we're dealing with that one game of Ben DiNucci, which was honestly kind of sad to watch. Andy Dalton, did not look very good in his 2 starts. I get that the offensive line was absolutely terrible and things were against him, but he did not look very good at all. And, Garrett Gilbert looked pretty solid on Sunday against the Steelers, so we'll see. But they have to be an average right now. Texans, you know what? I'm going to actually put the Texans and Deshaun in MVP tier. I know that might sound crazy because they're 2-6, but Deshaun has been absurdly good this season. Like, absurdly good. I said this yesterday in the Power Rankings video. Bill O'Brien completely fucked this franchise forever. It's like to the point where it's going to take them a very long time to get to where they need to be. Thanks due in large part to the fact that they don't really have picks. They don't really have that much young talent either. I mean, outside of Deshaun. So, could I, in good faith, put Deshaun in the MVP tier? Let's put Deshaun at in the Pro Bowl tier for now, actually. Pro Bowl tier for now, and we'll think about moving him up in a second. But yeah, I think Deshaun's been absolutely amazing. Their record is not because of Deshaun. It's because of how terrible their team is. And, he's done pretty much all he can do with what he's got. And it's not like he doesn't have anything, right? DeAndre Hopkins left, and people thought, oh, my God, he's throwing to nobody. Will Fuller is a very good player. The entire thing with him, his entire career, has been can he stay on the field? And the same exact thing can be said about Brandon Cooks. And so far, knock on wood, they've been able to stay healthy. Colts. Ooh. Yeah, I think the Colts are going to need a new quarterback. Obviously, I think the Philip Rivers thing was almost always a 1-year type of deal. But I don't even think Philip Rivers, even if Philip Rivers wanted to continue playing after this season, if you're the Colts, I think you definitely check out the market and see who's going to be out there as far as like a veteran. Because they're in a weird spot, right? Where like you look at the Jags. I mean, these 3 teams like here, Niners, Bears, and the Colts are like ready to compete right now. So if either of these 3 teams could get really good quarterbacks, obviously for the Niners, injuries play a much bigger role in them not living up to expectations so far. But for these 2 teams, if they had really good, consistent quarterback play, they would be nightmares. They would be absolute nightmares. Philip wasn't very good last year. He has not been good this year. It's been very inconsistent. I mean, he's had his moments, but for the most part, he has not been very good. And I think that they are going to need a new quarterback moving forward. Rams, I'll put them in the average tier as well. Obviously, it's recency bias with the Rams, right? Because last time we saw them, Goff turned the ball over 4 times in the first half against the Dolphins. But I think Goff's been okay, actually. I do. Obviously, the Rams, the way that they play, keep in mind, this appears to be an old list, too, because you can see the Washington football team has their old logo. The Rams have their old logo. Is this the old Chargers logo, too? Didn't they change theirs? But, yeah, Goff, for the most part, I think has been solid. Obviously, their game plan is for Goff to not do too much. The game plan is for these quick passes, to confuse the defense with motion and things like that, and for Goff to get the ball out of his hands quickly to his first read. Anytime they ask him to do more than that, it can get a little bit ugly. He is capable of doing it, though, but just not at a consistent level. So I'll put the Rams here in the average tier. I think that they're okay with Goff. Obviously, is he worth that giant contract? Probably not. But it's not like it's not like the Bears with Nick Foles, where they're being held back by a quarterback situation. I think that the Rams are fine. I think Jared Goff's been fine. Chargers, I'm gonna go ahead and put Herbert in good. I know that Burrow and Bengals fans might not like it, but I think Herbert has clearly been the best rookie quarterback so far this year, and he's been good. Like, he's been legitimately good. I do kind of feel like if I put Herbert in this tier, that I almost have to put Lamar and Matt Ryan in this tier. Again, this is going to be fluid, so we'll change things as they go. But for the time being, a lot of it is recency bias. I have to put Herbert in this tier. Also, a lot of it is because Herbert is a rookie, so it definitely adds to the bias here. But I think that this, obviously, aside from the 2-6 record, this is like a dream come true for Chargers fans, where you drafted this guy 6 overall. A lot of media pundits, or was it 7th overall? I think it was 6 overall. A lot of these media pundits, shitted on the pick. They didn't like the guy. They thought that the guy didn't talk enough. Whatever dumb shit it was that they were saying. Wasn't it like he didn't talk enough in the locker room or something? But what was the deal? There was some bullshit criticism of him. He comes out, starts under really weird circumstances. It sounds like the head coach isn't even backing him up. And then he comes out and lights the league on fire. And it's looked absolutely amazing. So Chargers fans should be thrilled. It looks like they have the quarterback of their future and a guy who's legitimately playing like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. Yeah. Okay. Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, obviously MVP tier, right? I think it's his to lose right now, due in large part to Russ kind of having a couple bad performances over the last 3 weeks. But Patrick Mahomes is on a complete other level right now. What is he? He's thrown 1 pick so far this season or whatever crazy shit it is. He's been absolutely absurd. I think this Chiefs team right now looks unbeatable. A lot of that has to do with how good Patrick Mahomes has been. I mean, it's like I've been saying the guy's the best quarterback of all time. And I'm not even speaking in hyperbole. I'm really not being hyperbolic. I really think he is the best quarterback I've ever seen. Obviously, I wasn't alive for the Marinos and shit and all of those guys. But I don't know how you could watch Patrick Mahomes and not think that he's getting very close to earning that type of recognition. So Patrick Mahomes is in the MVP tier. Obviously, Saints. Where does Drew Brees go? This is a tough one. I think Drew Brees has to go in the good tier. Maybe even the Pro Bowl tier. Which, and I've been very critical of Drew Brees, but part of the reason why I'm going to put him in the good tier is, let's just be honest, right? The way that the Saints offense works, he's not airing that thing out. It's very short, intermediate passes, screen passes, which is fine. I think he's one of only 2 starting quarterbacks who, on third down, throws the ball behind the sticks more often than ahead of the sticks. So I can't put him in this Pro Bowl tier just simply because he doesn't do as much as these other guys. But he has been really good as of late. I mean, I was early in the season saying, Jameis might have to get in there because Brees looks so old. But he's been really solid as of late. So Brees belongs in this good tier. Giants. I think Daniel Jones belongs in this 1 more year tier. I think you could even go need a new quarterback. It's honestly going to depend on where they end up in the draft. The fact that Daniel Jones is 1-17 against every team not named Washington is pretty damning. It's pretty damning. But he does have his moments, man. That's the difficult thing about Daniel Jones, is he does have moments where he makes crazy throws, where he makes crazy athletic plays, and you're like, oh my God, if this dude could do this consistently, he'd be one of the better quarterbacks, or one of the better young quarterbacks in the NFL at least. But it's just so inconsistent. He's a turnover machine. Again, it all depends on where they are in the draft. If they are in a position in the draft like a Justin Fields or something, they could do it. But I don't think they do. I think they give Daniel Jones one more year and sort of continue to build their team. And if Daniel Jones doesn't play more consistently, because remember, he is a second-year quarterback. So if Daniel Jones doesn't play more consistently next year, then he's probably going to get the door. I'm going to go ahead and put the Eagles in this tier as well. I know this is going to piss off a lot of Carson Wentz fans. If you've watched the channel at all, I mean, it's no secret how I feel and how we feel about Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. But here's my thing, right? You draft a quarterback in the second round of the draft. There's nothing you can say to convince me that that wasn't a move to prepare for the future after Carson Wentz. I don't know if it's because of injuries or if because over the past 2 seasons they've seen things from Wentz that's like, dude, man, he's regressing hard. So we need to maybe prepare for the chance that we have to move on from Carson Wentz. But you don't spend a second round pick on a gadget player who sees the field 5 times a game, if that, which is what some Eagles fans thought. They're just going to use that. Oh, Jalen Hurts is just a Taysom Hill. You don't spend a second round pick, especially on a team like the Eagles, where you have a plenty of holes you need to fill. And second round picks are high value picks, man. Like if this were the Chiefs or something, just who have a very complete roster, and they thought, man, if we get like a gadget player that could really push our team over the edge, maybe that makes sense. I still don't even think that would make sense. But if you spend a second round pick on a quarterback, the goal is for him to get out there at some point, in my opinion. When is that? I don't know. Carson Wentz's play this year has been bad, like just outright bad. There's no justifying it. I don't care about the one-off game he has or, the few good throws a game he has. I said this on this channel before. The quarterback talent pool is so amazing right now. Like, legitimately, quarterback play around the league is really, really, really solid. So much so that guys who really aren't even playing that bad get looked at in terrible, terrible lights. I'm thinking of somebody like a Jimmy G, for example, right? Or even a Gardner Minshew, guys who really aren't playing that bad, but the rest of the league is playing at such a higher level that you want to move on from these guys. But for Wentz, like, sure, he makes a couple good throws a game. Any quarterback in the league can. All quarterbacks make a couple good throws a game or have a game here or there where they go off, right? But he's just so inconsistent now, and I don't know what it is. He makes the worst decisions out of any starting quarterback in the NFL. I think I can very confidently say that, even worse than Daniel Jones, or even worse than like a Jameis Winston almost. So that's kind of the level he's reaching now. This Jameis Winston, careless, throw the ball up, try to break 6 tackles for no reason. Like, that's the level he's at, and I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if they're just so hands off with Wentz or something. That's what some Eagles fans I've seen think, that there's nobody in the coaching staff who like presses Wentz at all. So Wentz thinks he can do all this crazy shit. I don't know if that's what it is, but they got to figure something out, man. And if Wentz continues to play poorly, they have a decision to make because they spent a second round pick on a quarterback. So they have a decision to make. Steelers, where does Big Ben go? Their offense has been honestly a little iffy at times, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. Let me check the stats here. Big Ben has 19th quarterback ranking. That does sound about right. But I kind of feel like I want to put him in the good tier. But I don't. I feel like since Matt Ryan and Lamar are in this average tier, I almost have to put Big Ben in this average tier as well. But he's been solid. Obviously, their team operates much better with Big Ben at the helm, other than Mason Rudolph or Duck Hodges. That much is very apparent. So I'll put Big Ben as average here. Again, like the way their defense is and everything, they're not asking him to do all that much. Like he's not having to go out and win games on his own. But we saw against the Cowboys on Sunday. The Cowboys don't have a good defense or anything, but still, he hurt his elbow or his knee. He got hurt at some point in the second quarter. Came back out and played well and led the team back to victory, even against a bad defense. So I think he belongs in this average here. I think that's fair. Broncos. This is one of the more tough teams in the league to gauge your quarterback situation, honestly. I think I'd probably go one more year. I think they might give Drew Lock one more year. Mainly, I do think that ultimately they're going to need a new guy. But mainly the reason why I think they go one more year is because they're going to be in like a weird spot in the draft where they're not going to have the chance to get one of the top-tier quarterbacks. I mean, they could be like a destination for like a Trey Lance or something, one of those dudes who's like a project. But that would feel kind of weird because you'd have a young Drew Lock and then a young guy waiting in the wings. So like, what if Drew Lock ends up being really good? I don't know. I think that they give Drew Lock one more year. Obviously he only started at the very tail end of last season. Did look good last season, but he has shown a lot of regression. He's been hurt. That whole team has been really hurt. They'll give him one more year, but I'm not all that impressed with what I've seen with Drew Lock so far. And I think most Broncos fans would agree. Packers, obviously, Aaron Rodgers has been in the MVP tier. He looks absolutely amazing. There's really nothing to say about that. That his connection with Devontae Adams is absurd. It's probably one of the best wide receiver quarterback connections in the NFL right now. So, yeah, there's not much to say. It's Aaron Rodgers, right? Patriots. What do they do? Do we put them in the average tier? Or do we think that they need a new quarterback? Oh, man. Let's just put them in the average tier for now. Cam's had his up and downs for sure. He's not working with a lot, though, is a thing. And he's looked better the last 2 weeks, even though he did fumble that game away on against the Bills 2 weeks ago. But he still looked pretty solid in that game. He looked good against the Jets. I think that if they get the right pieces around Cam, that he could be the quarterback for them. I think that they're going to have to change their play style and play a more run-heavy game. But I think that they can build around Cam. So I'll put Cam in average. It hasn't been pretty at times, but, they could go out and get a new quarterback. That is possible. Go and get a younger quarterback. We could see that. I guess we'll see moving forward, especially depending on where they end up in the draft. But I think right now they belong in average. I'll put Teddy here as well. I think that the Panthers are in kind of the same boat where Teddy has been solid this year. He's had his moments where he hasn't looked that great, but all in all, I think Teddy has been pretty solid. I think his game against the Chiefs this past weekend was amazing, and seeing him, what was that 3rd and 14 or whatever crazy scramble where he did the flip and got the first down. That was he played with huge nuts last Sunday. Let's just say that. So again, the Panthers going into the season, the thought was the Panthers would be a bottom 3 team and they're going to draft a quarterback. Now with a 3-6 record, I believe they might not end up in the top 3 just because there are other teams that are just really, really, really bad. So they might wait a year and let Teddy go again next year. And it's not like they're going to be competing next year or anything. So, use your draft picks, use your high first-round draft picks to build the rest of your team up. You can keep building your defense. Of course, the Panthers spent their entire draft on defense this past draft. So, continue to build your team up and then figure out the quarterback when you need to figure it out. I think that's probably the plan for the Panthers moving forward. Because, again, Teddy has not been bad. Do I think they can build their team around Teddy? No, not necessarily. But I think he's a really good stopgap right now, for sure. Raiders, I'll put Derek Carr in this good tier. I think that he's been good. I really do. I think Derek Carr has been good. I think he's overhated. I think he's been overhated for quite some time now. He's just been in an offense where it's not really designed for him to air it out, and everyone shits on him for not airing out. I get that he doesn't air it out, but he hasn't really had weapons. And, this year they have some better weapons, and he's looked good, man. He has looked good. I'll put them in the good tier. I think Derek Carr is the quarterback of this franchise for sure. Yeah, maybe a couple years ago he was down here on the one more year tier where it was okay, if Derek Carr doesn't look better this year, they have to move on. But I think he has solidified himself as the quarterback of this team. Could you do better? Yes, of course. But I think he's looked solid this year. Washington football team, obviously they need a new quarterback. They benched Haskins. Kyle Allen is hurt, and even then Kyle Allen was not the answer for them. And Alex Smith, he doesn't need to be out there. Let's just leave it at that. He doesn't need to be out there. So, yeah, there's nothing really to say. They need a new quarterback. Where will they be in the draft? That remains to be seen, because it's kind of like you have Trevor Lawrence who's going 1, right? He's going to the Jets. And let's just put the Jets here and not waste any time with them moving forward. So, Trevor Lawrence is going 1 to the Jets. It probably wouldn't shock me if Fields goes 2, especially if that ends up being the Jags, which it kind of looks like it will. And then what? Because then you have Lance from, was it South Dakota State, North Dakota State? I always get those confused. Does it really matter? Is there a difference between either of those Dakotas? If you actually live in Dakota and can give me proof that you live in Dakota, I'll give you $50. No, $20. I'll give you $20 if you can give me proof that you live in one of the Dakotas. What was I even saying? Oh, yeah, and then Homeboy from BYU. I have not watched a BYU game because it's BYU, and I would never do that. But the highlights I've seen from that BYU quarterback is nuts. That guy looks insane. I know it's because I've only seen the highlights, obviously, but that guy looks nuts. Is he a day one starter? Who are we even talking about? We talking about Washington? Okay. So if they draft that kid, is he a day one starter? Someone with more knowledge of the situation, please let me know. But, yeah, they are obviously in need of a new quarterback. But, honestly, they're also in the same position. Who's it talking about? The Panthers are in, where it's not like they're competing. Even the Jags. It's not like they're going to compete next year. So, you would rather see them, get somebody who's going to help the team moving forward at a position of need, or even like an offensive line position, or in the linebacking crew, whatever the case may be. Get somebody like that who can help the team in that way. And then when the situation comes to bringing a new quarterback, you bring in a new quarterback if the guy's not there, right? I think teams make that mistake too often where they feel like they have to reach for a quarterback, so they do it even though they're not going to compete anyway. I feel like the football team shouldn't do that. Kyler Murray. Where does Kyler Murray go? Obviously, he's going to go in either the good tier or the Pro Bowl tier. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I think passing-wise, there's maybe a little bit. I'll put him in the good tier. Maybe there's a little bit to be desired passing-wise out of him. But for a second-year quarterback, I mean, he looks like a superstar. The way that he can run, he's him and Lamar. I mean, Lamar is definitely more elusive than him and probably a better runner, but Kyler's pretty close. Like, there's not a huge wide gap between those two as far as running ability goes. And Kyler's deep ball ability is absolutely amazing. It is. It still needs some work, but you can tell all the tools are there. The Russell Wilson comparisons look pretty. I know a lot of people are doing it just because they were both smaller quarterbacks, but there are a good amount of comparisons there. Obviously, Kyler's a better runner than Russ, but the way that they play and the deep balls, obviously Russ's deep ball's on another level. So I'm not trying to compare Kyler's current deep ball to Russ's, but moving forward, that's something to watch. I think Kyler belongs in this good tier, teetering on the Pro Bowl tier. These last two right here, I'll go ahead and put Josh Allen in the Pro Bowl tier. Obviously, during the season, I think he was playing at an MVP level, but he kind of came back down to earth in the middle part of the season, or like the 3-4 week stretch where the offense didn't look all that great and the Bills as a whole didn't look all that great. But he looked amazing against the Seahawks. If he were to play that down the stretch the rest of the way, I think he would be in the MVP conversation. But right now, I don't think he's quite on the Rodgers and Patty Mahomes levels. But he absolutely has been amazing so far this year. So he definitely belongs in this Pro Bowl tier. And despite his recent struggles, I'll definitely put Russ in the MVP tier. It was his to lose. He hasn't been playing all that well, at least by Russ standards, over the last 3 weeks or so. But I think he'll figure it out. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that their defense is so terrible that Russ feels like he has to force things. But I think it also has to do with the fact that when you have such good wide receiver weapons, when you have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, these huge playmakers who are great at catching deep balls and who make giant plays happen seemingly all the time, that it definitely seems a little hard to not want to try to extend plays and get these guys massive plays. And that feels like that's definitely on the Seahawks offenses. And they're good at it, for sure, but it leads to these mistakes, and it's going to lead to these games where, Russ has 3 or 4 turnovers like he did on Sunday against the Bills and like he did against the Cardinals a few weeks ago. So, yeah, that's it. That's all of them. Let's go ahead and see. Let's run down here. How many do we have in these 3 tiers? 1, 2, we have 6. What is that, 10, 11? So this is the top 11 quarterbacks in the league so far this year, in my opinion. I think that's okay. You could definitely make the argument for Matt Ryan being up here. You could definitely make the argument for Lamar, maybe even Big Ben. But I think that this is probably the best quarterback ranking of all time, if I'm being completely 100% honest with you. These one more year guys, this is kind of what I figured, that there wouldn't be too many here. I just think you have to give Daniel Jones one more year, see how it is. Figure out what the fuck is going on with Carson Wentz. If that's salvageable, if it's not, you probably have to move on. And same thing with Drew Lock. Give him one more year just because it's been a little bit of a shaky year so far, but there's a lot of weird shit going on. So, and also the Broncos are kind of one of these teams where they might need a little reset. So it wouldn't hurt to see what you have next year, and then if that doesn't work out, then make the move on another quarterback. And all of these guys right here, obviously the Jags need a new quarterback. I do think the Niners probably need a new quarterback, and they need to move on from that Jimmy G contract the first chance they get. Bears obviously need a new quarterback. I do think the Colts need one. Obviously, football team does, and the Jets do. Sorry, Sam Darnold. I guess you could kind of make an argument that Sam Darnold belongs here, but the thing is, they're going to have the number 1 overall pick, and they're going to take Trevor Lawrence, right? Which they should, 100%. And all these guys in the average tier, remember, this average tier is like above average to below average, and even it's solid. So just because I have like Matt Ryan in this average tier doesn't mean like I actually think he's on the same level of Cam Newton. There's a lot of levels to this average tier. I just didn't want to have like 18 different tiers, right? I just wanted to have a small amount of tiers, and then you have all these guys in the middle. So I guess we could have ranked all of them. That's definitely something I did not want to do. So yeah, that's what we have. I was trying to do something new with the channel, try to have some different content. Again, I want to start doing content every day, if at all possible. I don't know how possible that is. So yeah, leave a comment. Where did I fuck up? Why? If you're a Carson Wentz fan, just go ahead and get it out, let it out of your system, right? Tell me why I put your least favorite quarterback too high, or why I put your favorite quarterback too low. Again, here's the weird thing about quarterbacks is it's like sometimes it feels like people have more of a tie to the quarterback than the team itself. I kind of definitely feel that way as a Cowboys fan over the past several years, where it's like, man, it really felt like people had more of a tie to Romo than they did the team. And it still feels the same way with Dak, where it's like, there's been a lot of Cowboys fans who are rooting for the team to be unsuccessful because of the way they treated Dak. I can't go that far. I know I've said it on this channel. I don't actually feel that way. But I still love Dak, right? But that's the thing, is people get these I think someone's knocking on my door. People get these people get these like connections with their quarterbacks. So yeah, that's all I got. Subscribe to the channel, all that good shit. Okay, bye-bye.